Okay, so hi there, I'm Josh. I'm part of Team MSGlasgow. We are 10 software engineers and computing scientists from the University of Glasgow. And what we've aimed to do over the weekend is we've aimed to build an enhanced platform for communication between the public and the public services that are provided for them. So we saw an opportunity. We noticed that there was a lack of effective non-urgent communication between the public and the services that were provided for them. So with this, I mean the little things, not when someone dials 999 or whenever something explodes outside their front door and it turns out to be a water mains. So we looked at various sort of channels that existed that were meant for this purpose already. So there was the 101 police number, which we found to not really have penetrated into the public consciousness. There's a rather low level of awareness of it, despite the fact it's plastered in massive numbers on the side of the van. We suspect that's something to do with a decline in the use of telecommunications through phone. So then there's NHS 24, which is well known, though many people see it as a sort of last resort before going to hospital, and they won't want to bother it with sort of minor ailments or illnesses. So we thought we should probably provide this non-urgent communication that there seems to be missing. So we built a mobile application and we built a web application on the back to demonstrate that. So one essential part of this service is that it allows these services to give public service announcements in an authoritative and clear manner. So we found that currently through the social media sites, there's a sort of modern approach to giving out these public service announcements. However, oftentimes in social media sites, the feed is crowded, it's difficult to tell, especially on Twitter, it moves at a rate of knots. There's no way to pick out what's really relevant to you, and even if you can, you might have missed something else that was even more relevant. So our system would provide public service announcements, which would be localized within a radius of that incident. So for instance, if SPT wished to shut a station, within a radius of that station, we could target all users of the app that lived within that radius and send this message to them via phone notification, which means it would sit in the notifications until they actually saw the information and it was registered, therefore sort of confirming that they would get that information and that there would be no sort of gaps as long as they had the application. The next side of it is a messaging service, which is what we feel is particularly important for that sort of personal level of communication where it's maybe not important enough to merit a call through one of the more official channels, but it may still be important to the organisation involved. So say in the example of the NHS. In the NHS you may have a small ailment or a small symptom. You're not really sure if you can get time out of your day to go to the GP and talk to them about it, but maybe you just want to fire off a short message and you definitely don't want to bother NHS 24. So you might write a short message, maybe attach a photo. Then you have the geographic filtering, which ensures that the message rates coming through match the staff rates in particular areas. So if we have a certain number of messages coming out of the centre of the city, they will go back to NHS staff in the centre of the city so that they can reply. There won't be any sort of flooding of low staffing levels in areas where they're not really designed to cope with large numbers of requests for service. So then they'll sort of return information, whether it be please go to the hospital, please go to your GP, or actually this is something you could probably do with yourself. Here's a little tip to point you in the right direction. So case study example, Leslie, wife and mother of two. She's got 2 young children, a husband that works away, and she's got noisy neighbours. They're keeping her up 3 nights in a row. The kids are screaming. She really doesn't want to have child on her shoulder screaming and then, you know, phone to ear trying to call the police on the other one on 101. Really stressful. I've heard my mum moan about such things several times. So she can, with her app, just whip it out, quick text message off to the police with her geographical information. They can either reply and say, yes, this is definitely something we can get involved in, and then she can take further action. Or, actual fact, they could use the geographic information that goes with every single message and go to their location. So there's several benefits for the services in a system like this as well. The first one is operational intelligence. So operational intelligence is critical value to organisations like the police, the fire service, and indeed we've been speaking to these organisations over the course of the weekend. And the really key thing about this intelligence that our application and system can provide is that it can be near real time in relation to other communications data that would be going through. We spoke to the defence telecommunications chaps that came in during the week, and they said that a system like this, which was closed and designed specifically to communicate with public services, did have the possibility to be upgraded to a priority status on the telecommunications lines, which would make sure it went straight to the command and control centres and they got the information as it was needed real time. So there's obviously a community aspect. We went into Glasgow. We asked a couple of people, what they thought about this. We got one person who was a business traveller who said, I would go out of my way to download this application so that I was sure I had access to a wide range of public services. Before we begin, if there's any questions, I'd like to invite the rest of my team up here. They did equally as much work as me, and I'd like to give them a chance to respond.
Sure. A round of applause, I think.
Yes. We did indeed, yes. We're all from the same university, all from very, very closely interlinked courses. No, actually, we arrived and we all pitched different ideas, to be honest. They had a slight inkling in what I was going to suggest, but I think whenever they realised that really this was about generating vast amounts of data so that we can build that smart city of the future, we very quickly coalesced into a super team, if you like, to try and tackle that bigger purpose. Are you here? Oh God, I thought you'd gone home. I'm so sorry. Maxine, yes, is from Imperial College London, and she is doing a year in industry as well, so she's with us as well. Yeah, she's shy.
Didn't really get much of the technology you were proposing. Wasn't in the pitch. It's a great idea, but again, you've probably, if you've spoken to the police and fire, you understand how complicated command and control solutions are in the back end. So I'm keen, without giving you extra time to enhance your pitch, just to give me a rough idea that you thought about the technology.
We certainly did think about the technology. That was why we spent such a great deal of time talking to your employees and also to other organisations. There was a fully featured stack behind this technology. Unfortunately, we were feeling that it would be better to try and give an outline of what the system actually did rather than dive straight into the deep end, because we were aware that panel members would not necessarily be from a technological background. And we can certainly give you that information later if you'd like it.
Any other questions? Fiona?
The example you gave, or you talked about people maybe using it instead of going to NHS 24. I wasn't terribly clear. I'm not convinced how realistic something like that would be.
Certainly, I can give a personal example, if you'd like, from that. So recently, I had a small ailment, and it had actually persisted for quite a long time. And I thought to myself, I couldn't get to the GP because I was really bogged down with coursework and other stuff like that. And I was pretty much stuck in all the time. And I didn't want to join the massive queues down at the university GP for something that I didn't really know was that serious, or it wasn't indeed. So what I did is actually find a little messaging system on the GP's website, which not every GP has. It just seemed to be a feature of this practice. And that was great, because I sent a message off and they immediately got one back to me. And they gave me effective advice, which enabled me to deal with it myself, and I didn't persist much longer after that. So it was really useful, and when we were coming into this, that was one thing that stuck out at me as a real use case.
Another point for GPs is that in this system you can also you can send text or image. So in case of GP, for example, if you have a bite or something, you can take an image of that and send it to the practitioners, and then there is a slight chance that they can help you straight away without even going into contact with you, or just say that, oh, that's serious, you need to go to us.
I would also like to add that we did contact the NHS about this and ask them if this is something that would be possible, and it was indicated that yes, it was indeed in their policy to try and implement these kind of services.
I don't have a question, I just got a clarification point.
Sure.
Okay, 101 was a very successful launch. The vast majority of people are now using 101 and not the local numbers, and I believe we passed over 1 million callers in the last few weeks, and that's from a service that was launched 11 months ago. Thank you very much.
There you go. Okay, thank you.